Hey guys, welcome back to Viltrox. Today we're going to be using the 85mm F1.8 lens to capture really cool mirror portraits that you can do in your own backyard. This is the Viltrox 85mm F1.8 Mark II full-frame lens made for Sony E-mount cameras. We're using the 85mm today because it's famous for portraiture, and the 1.8 aperture allows for great color rendering, sharpness, separation, and a creamy bokeh effect in the background. For our first mirror portrait idea, we're going to get a two-shot of sorts with the subject and her reflection. We just put the mirror on the ground and then instructed the model to pose in different ways around the mirror so that her face can still be seen in the reflection. It's a very simple setup that you can do so many things with, and the end result looks amazing. You can really see the details and the sharpness of the lens, as well as a nice soft fall off thanks to the wide open aperture. For our next idea, we're going to do mirror reflection portraits. These types of shots can be tricky because you have to make sure to line up the reflection with your subject. The 85 really shines here because it keeps everything in balance, and the 1.8 aperture gives the background just enough blur to keep the subject sharp. Perspective is going to be your best friend on this. And for the second mirror reflection portrait we did, height and distance played a huge factor. We had the model stand a little bit behind the mirror, which was on the ground, so that we could try and capture the upper half of her body inside the reflection. It was difficult to get the right shot because of perspective, so it's definitely something you have to play around with a lot to get a nice end product. The lens helped a lot because we could have the distance without showing too many distractions around the mirror, so we could keep the photo centered on the subject. For our next idea, it's very self-explanatory. Just have the model holding the mirror at different positions and try and experiment with sunlight bouncing off of the mirror to get some cool effects. What really stands out to me in these images is the color rendering. It's very impressive, and there's no aberration along the edges of the mirror, which can be really difficult to achieve when you're shooting wide open. For our second mirror holding portrait, we had her hold the mirror at chest level to try and imitate the water reflection type of look. This next idea is definitely my favorite one out of the entire shoot. We used safety chains to hang up the mirror in the tree, and then I had the model lay underneath it so that we could see her reflection if you look up. I shot towards the mirror, and then we imitated a bird's eye view perspective, which I found really cool. Thanks to the lens, there's a lack of chromatic aberration and a harsh contrast between the sky and the tree, even at 1.8. There's great details in the highlights while keeping a good contrast. It can also blend them together to create a kind of surreal effect that makes your subject stand out even more. For this one, we decided to use a small handheld mirror and experiment different unique ways to pose it with the model. We tried putting it at different angles around the model's face to get multiple perspectives, while still getting her face in the foreground to create a unique sense of depth that you don't really get without using a mirror. With this level of sharpness, you can see details even in the shadows of the image. Think of this next idea like taking a selfie with the mirror. Super easy and looks really cool with a bright blue sky in the background. The model just held up the mirror and we caught her face in the reflection while still getting some depth with her body being blurred in the foreground. If you're bold, you can try this next idea. Get your small handheld mirror, a towel, and then some sort of hammer or mallet and try and crack the mirror at a single point, or you could completely shatter it to do some cool mirror shard shots. Just make sure you're handling everything safely. We went the mirror shard route and picked a piece that was least likely to cause our dear model any harm. I had her hold it up and we targeted individual parts of her face in the reflection against the beautiful blur of the background. The creamy bokeh is really what makes the image, in my opinion. It shows clear separation between the subject and the environment. And that's a wrap. Today we used the Viltrox 85mm F1.8 Mark II lens to get some really cool mirror photography that you can do in your very own backyard. If you liked any of the ideas that we talked about today, please leave a comment down below, give us a like button, and hit the subscribe button.